The falling leaves drift by the window, the autumn leaves are red and gold. I see your lips. Hi, this is Bonner again. So this is a companion lesson to my lesson on autumn leaves, and you can find the link to the autumn leaves lesson in a card up here. In today's lesson, what we're going to talk about is the structural components of autumn leaves. How is that song made? We're going to talk about what a 2-5-1 is. We're going to look at the circle of fifths and look at the major key and the relative minor key of the key signature G major or E minor, which is the key signature that autumn leaves is written in. And we have a bonus point. We're going to talk about how do I spot a 2-5-1 structure, because they're super common. We want to learn how to see them and we want to learn how to hear them. Those are the things we're going to talk about in today's lesson. Okay, let's talk about the 2-5-1. 2-5-1 is simply a chord progression where we play the second chord from the harmonized scale, whether it's major or minor. We play the second chord of the harmonized scale, and then we play the fifth chord of the harmonized scale, and that 5-to-1 cadence, which is what we call that resolution from 5-to-1. That 5-to-1 cadence gives us a sense of returning to our tonal center or the key signature of the song. So what we're doing here in this particular case is our 2 is A minor 7, our 5 is the D7, and then we're going to a G or a G major 7. And you can hear how that sounds like, I'm coming home. It sounds like the ending. That's all that a 2-5-1 is it's a slightly extended cadence by using the 2 as the starting point. Da, da, da. It's a fundamental structure in jazz music. So let's have a look at the diagram here. What am I talking about? Here's the circle, the chord spelling circle, or the harmonized major scale it's sometimes called. And we're looking at that diagram, and you can see that the 1 chord, when I'm in the key of G, of course, the 1 chord is the G chord. If we look at the diagram again, the number 2 chord, which is the 2 semitones above, the 2 of the major scale, is A. And the second chord in every major key signature, the second chord is always a minor chord. There's A minor, we're playing an A minor 7. Okay? And the 5 chord, of course, from G is D. We should know all these 1-5-4s, the basic 1-5-4 notes. And if you don't already know them, have a little jump to my link here in what's the most common chord progression in music, because we talk about the 1-5-4 in the structure in there, and we talk about how we can know these shapes on our guitar and how we can easily find them. Maybe we'll just jump in and we'll go through that same exercise, but for the 2-5-1. So if I see a G major, what I should look for preceding it is an A and a D. And if I see an A and a D preceding a G, that tells me that I have a 2, a 5, and a 1. And here you can see where those notes are in the neck. I'm going to put a little diagram that shows you how that corresponds to an L shape that defines the 2-5-1. Okay, my 2 is here. In this case, the E string of the 5th fret. My 5 is the A string on the 5th fret. And my 1 is the 3 on the E string. Okay, the autumn leaves we're using a major 2-5-1 and a minor 2-5-1. I have mentioned that autumn leaves is written in E minor, and we're actually using a major 2-5-1 and a minor 2-5-1. Let's have a look at the circle of fifths and see if we can get a clue about how that works. Here, if we look at the circle of fifths, you see the G key signature, which is our major key signature, is on the outside of the circle, and that shows us the key signature, which has the 1 sharp on the F. And underneath it, there's a small E. What that is telling us is E is the relative minor key signature to G major. So G major and E minor are related. How are they related? Both key signatures are using the exact same set of notes. The difference is that in G major, G is the 1, and the notes proceed from there, around G, A, B, C, and so on. In E minor, the notes begin, the 1 begins at E, and it's a minor chord. And so the harmonization is different. The chords that we have in the circle are different because of the way the notes work out, and because we're working from a minor scale. Let's look at the harmonized minor scale. And here you can see if E minor is our 1, then 2 semitones above E is F sharp. And in our harmonized minor scale, that gives us an F sharp diminished. Okay. Just as in any E key signature, major or minor, the B, the note B, is the 5. Let's have a look at our guitar neck and we'll see how that works. Here's E, the 1. Here's A, the 4. Here's B, the 5. And here's F sharp, the 2. Again, more than understanding a lot of in-depth theory about this, all we want to do is we want to recognize these structures, and we want to start to understand, where do I see this on my guitar neck? Okay? Using the locations on the guitar neck and where the notes are relative to each other on the guitar neck is essential. We're interested in playing this stuff, not analyzing it today. Let's look at our minor chord circle. And again, here we are, 2, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, and then 5 is a B7 or B7 flat 9, and then E minor. Okay? And so what we're doing is we're using a 2-5-1 in the major key and a 2-5-1 in the minor key, and by switching those back and forth, we discover that when we're learning to play Autumn Leaves, really what we're doing is we're learning 2 phrases that essentially are basically only 3 measures long each. And we're moving in between one phrase, then the other phrase, then one phrase, then the other phrase. And that's the fundamental structure of this song. It's also the fundamental structure of tons of jazz songs. How do I use this knowledge to spot 2-5-1 structures when I'm looking at a song? Well, a 2-5-1 is an introduction to a 1. So what we do is we look at what could be or might be 1 chords in our song, and we look at the chords that are right before them. If we return to the chord changes in Autumn Leaves, we notice that we have a G major 7. Okay? And so then what we do is we go, okay, I see a G major 7. What I'm looking for before the G major 7 is what could be the 5 chord. Do I see the 5 chord for G major? That would be a D7. If I see a 5 chord right before the G major 7, what I'm seeing is a 5-1. And then what I tend to do is I look at the measure before D7 and go, well, if this is a 2-5-1, that would be an A minor in this particular case. And lo and behold, it is. And now I've spotted my 2-5-1 key. So that's what we're looking for. And we're looking for initially, what we're trying to do is see the structures in the chart, but we also want to listen to the songs where we hear these structures and start to get familiar with the sound of them, because we want to spot them by their sound. They're super common. We want to start to be able to recognize with our ears, oh, this song is going 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1 over and over again. And we want to be able to start to recognize what it sounds like when we hear a 2-5-1 progression unfolding. So today we talked about the 2-5-1 structure, how to see a 2-5-1 when it's rooted on the E string, how to see a 2-5-1 when it's rooted on the A string. We talked about the major 2-5-1, the minor 2-5-1, relative keys, the major and its relative minor. I hope that's helpful. If you haven't worked through the Autumn Leaves lesson, again, it's right here. You can just click on it and have a look at that. It's a fun lesson and it's going to give you an opportunity to put all of these principles to work. Look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm Bonner. Come on back and we'll have more lessons for you.